chirping from the pine. It's time to rage. Oh, yeah. Here we are on Chirping from the Pine, and I can tell you right now, rage we are going to be doing. It is time for the raging. My name is Josh. I'm here today live in the Game Rage studio. And tonight, my co-host is Adam. He will be joining us via the internet from afar, from a long place, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Adam, what's going on?
Not much. I felt compelled to do an episode of Chirping from the Pine, and I hope, in the words of Ice-T in the Player Haters Ball segment, hate, 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 hate. I am full of fucking hate. I've actually been watching the Copa America and the Euro Cup, and it has just further ingrained my disdain, my odious nature towards fucking soccer/football. But I'm going to call it soccer just to piss people off because it doesn't deserve to be called football at this point.
Indeed. And before we get into that, though, if you want to hear our multitude of podcasts that we have, you can go to GameRageMagazine.com. If you want to follow us on social media, it's at Game Rage Magazine on Instagram/TikTok, at Game Rage Mag on Twitter/X. And if you want to, follow Adam, you can follow him at Game Rage Magazine. Or I'm sorry, that's us. If he's at All Gas No Trash Official. And you yell at him there if you want for this opinion. But I do also agree with him. But anyways, all right, now that that's out of the way. All right, let's get to it.
I guess I could start back even to when I was younger. At one point, I did enjoy soccer in my younger days. It's just kind of a sport that keeps you active as a child, makes your parents... It's something to put kids in to distract them for a minute so parents could have a minute to themselves and then possibly get enraged that their kid is a fucking idiot and can't actually play the sport. And then it turns parent against parent at some point, and you end up it ends up turning into a long drive home where nobody's talking to each other. But I've really just grown to hate the sport of soccer, if you can even call it that. I will say, though, there is a lower tier than fucking soccer itself. I think pickleball is straight up offensive to tennis. I don't even think pickleball is a sport, but if it is considered a sport, I think it's at the very bottom. It's fucking pickleball, and then soccer is just above it, but not by much. I think the reason that I ended up hating soccer after watching these tournaments is how soft the soccer players are. I mean, it's the bullshit tactics of flopping constantly, not only to kill the clock, like it's something like taking a knee, or at least that's what I was seeing what was happening in terms of like Mexico, who recently played, I think it was Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. They were playing another team in order to qualify for the elimination rounds, right? So they were just trying to get out of group play. So they were playing Ecuador, and they ended up losing. And what Ecuador was doing was, whenever they would make contact with somebody from Mexico, like physical contact, how little or how much, however little or big the contact was, it didn't really matter, because those people would end up flopping. The Ecuadorians would fall immediately to the ground. So if they got hit in the head, they'd grab their leg, like the opposite of, it's like they couldn't get their story straight. And it didn't really matter because the ref ended up like checking up on them and then giving them the ball anyways. And I'm not even that big of a Mexico fan. I just want to watch the game. But Yeah, so these motherfuckers were like getting carted off, and I'm like, bro, like you didn't even rub shoulders, and you're acting like you got hit like a fucking lineman sacks a quarterback and they can't breathe, or their shoulder breaks, or their chest caves in, or some shit like that. Like they're on the ground for like 2 or 3 minutes, and they're wasting the fucking clock. And granted, yes, at the end of the 90 minutes, there is additional time added on for the time that's lost, but it ultimately doesn't really matter because their strategy was just to milk that, just to keep doing that shit. And I just hate that the sport has evolved to that type of shit where drawing penalties is more important than fucking playing the game. Because if that's how the game is supposed to be played, that is boring as all fuck. And also, like, the soccer players are pussies, dude, because if they were 2 seconds in the NHL where guys are getting fucking rocked and concussions like every 3 seconds, they wouldn't fucking last. They'd be fucking dead. I hate soccer at this point, dude. I fucking hate watching this stupid Euro Cup, this fucking Copa America. I don't give a fuck who the winner is because soccer is not really that interesting. And the fact that half the world or majority of the world is entertained by the sport is absurdly fucking stupid. So what do you have to say about that, Josh?
Yeah, I completely fucking agree. Soccer's terrible. I definitely don't think it should ever be referred to as football, because football is what we do here in the NFL in America, and it's way better. I'll say this too. People insult hockey by saying, and people have told me this when I say I hate soccer. Oh, but you like hockey. That's just soccer on ice. All right. First of all, that is an extreme oversimplification for what the fuck it is. And second of all, the NHL is nothing like any professional hockey or professional soccer on the planet. Okay. Because it seems as though most soccer leagues, the whole goal, like you had said, is to just draw fucking penalties and essentially burn the clock, kill momentum by burning the clock. In the NHL, they have a fucking penalty that's called embellishment. And that penalty is if you try to draw a penalty and you fucked up and you did it too much, or the ref just doesn't like the fact that you tried to draw a penalty on something that was clearly not a penalty, they can hit you with an embellishment penalty. And yeah, you get 2 minutes in the fucking box for that, for literally trying to draw a penalty and failing. I think that if soccer wants to redeem itself in any way whatsoever, they need to institute an embellishment penalty somehow. And they also need to legalize fighting. The crowd already does it. Why not let the players do it? That's my stance on the matter with that. And I'll say, I do think that and I'm not going to say European soccer in general, but I'm going to say, I think like English soccer specifically is less focused on the penalty aspect, the penalty drawing aspects. It's a little more.
Why are you saying that?
Well, so I watched that show, that Welcome to Wrexham show, which is on, I don't know, fucking Hulu or something. And it's where, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds and that
Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, Rob McElhenney, or McElhenney, I think is how he says it.
Yeah.
They bought a fucking soccer team in England, like a low tier fucking soccer team. And they basically have taken it from, nothing, and they're getting it up to like the top. They're moving it up through the leagues and getting it into the top leagues. They're building a new stadium for them. I haven't watched the complete series, but I mean, I saw all of season 1 and a little bit into season 2. And from what I saw, and again, this could just be fancy editing, but from what I saw, the game seemed more physical, and it didn't seem to be based on drawing shitty penalties and burning the clock. And it didn't seem like guys were just faking, like, oh my God, like in the Central and South American soccer leagues and I would say the European, like Europe Central, not including England, but the Europe League, those motherfuckers seem to be doing that quite often. And that seems to be the whole point. So I don't know I don't know enough about it, but from what I have seen, the minimal aspects that I've seen, it doesn't seem to be that way in the lower tiered leagues. It's just like it seems to be whatever, like the upper premier leagues are just prima donna shit, all about fucking getting penalties and faking shit, and it's terrible. I think that shit needs to go. I don't get why people like that. It just seems to, like I said, take away from the whole, the whole aspect of the game. It's like, why are you going to, it'd be like if hockey was like, oh yeah, guys, just let's go out there and try to get as many penalties as possible so we can, try and win the game by screwing the other enemy or the enemy and just taking away all their fucking momentum every single chance we get by causing some bullshit ass fucking penalty or stopping play. Because that's what they're doing. They're just stopping play so that any momentum that the other team may be having just gets completely halted. And I think it's horseshit. And I just hate soccer in general. I just kind of think it's boring. It's slow. It's not entertaining. It does not sports entertain me in any way whatsoever.
It's like the fucking turnovers are so goddamn frequent. Like, it's also hard to distinguish like who's fucking good. Like, sure, I know Ronaldo and fucking Messi, right? You can't. There's no disputing those guys aren't great, right?
Yeah,
like, you could see it. You could visually see it. But for like the other 10 or 9 guys that are on the field, man, it just looks like all random bullshit. Like, at least in other sports, I can kind of get an idea of who's fucking good. At least in like baseball, I mean, a shortstop is good when he's putting his fucking glove on everything and he's able to turn double plays like that. That's how you know he's fucking good. And then on top of that, like when they can hit, yeah, it makes them stand out. But with soccer, it's like, what are the metrics that make them stand out? There's so few scoring opportunities, or it's not like a soccer team is going to win 10-0, and it's like, okay, there's assists. Yeah, sure, there's assists in soccer, right? You helped somebody get a goal, but I mean, what other metrics are there to describe how fucking good a player is? Like, are they fast? Sure, maybe that's something that helps, or how good is their stamina? But like in other sports, it feels I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like there's better ways or better aspects to the game itself and like the stats that indicate a player's good. I don't really understand what I'm looking at when I see soccer. There's just so much bullshit going on that you really can't get a good grasp of who's good. And even the players that are good, like they're so far and few in between that it's like, well, the other 90%, like who fucking gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. And fuck, man, I don't give any shits. I've never watched the MLS, the US Major League Soccer. I've never fucking watched that. So I don't know if that's good or if it's not good, because I just don't fucking care. I've never cared about soccer. And who knows, maybe it's something that is fucking awesome and we just don't know about it. But hell, there's a stat for drawing penalties in fucking soccer. That's like a stat. That's one of the stats that they keep track of, is how many penalties you can draw. So what the fuck does that tell you? You know?
Yeah. I mean, what are the observations that I have about the tournament itself? I think there's some type. This is me going off on a rant, but man, just the fact that like the major European teams like Germany, Spain, fucking England. I mean, there were multiple games where each of these respective teams were down. They were actually losing to small European countries like Georgia. England was down 1-0 to, I forgot who they were playing. I want to say it was like Slovenia or Slovakia. I can't remember. But they were playing against them, and England was down until the 90th minute. And of course, they add additional time for all the penalties and all the stoppage and all that shit. So fucking England scored 2 fucking goals to qualify for the round of 16 or whatever the next stage is, within the last like fucking 8 minutes of the game, right? And then Georgia, who was beating the Spaniards, Spain itself, they were up 1-0 for like 60 minutes of the game or whatever amount of time it was. And then the Spaniards ended up winning like 2-1, I think. So they ended up going to the next round. And there's group play. So you play, it's a round robin thing. Everybody plays each other. And whoever has the most points ends up, the top 2 teams end up making it to the next round. But dude, like just... you know they're not going to let the small European teams win because that's not what's going to make money. Like everybody wants to see France, England, Portugal, Spain, Italy make it to the next round. And sure, there's going to be exceptions. Like Italy didn't make it to the next round. But you know the refs have it in for these other teams because that's where the money is. Like they can't have fucking Georgia go over Spain because it just, there's no money in that and the country's too small for people to care. So I feel like there's some type of collusion to make these teams get as far as they can for like the larger European teams, as opposed to like Georgia or even like the Czech Republic or whatever. I just, I find, I just hate the fucking sport, dude. I every time, I'm not even excited for like the World Cup anymore at this point. I used to be when I was younger, and now not so much because Mexico and the US, they both suck ass. So it's like the little investment that I had, don't really care because I already know that the teams that are going to dominate as far as like this side of the world goes, it's probably going to be Argentina. It's probably going to be Brazil. And I don't know if the gap will ever be closed. I'm like, why do I even fucking care at this point? So I hate soccer. Ultimately, that's all I have to say is I hate soccer. And what a waste of a fan base for all these people that support their favorite teams. I mean, dude, one thing I will credit soccer for is the rabid fans. Like, I respect the shit out of anybody that is a soccer fan because they do some really cool shit. Like they, I think LAFC, like for the Los Angeles Football Club here in Los Angeles, they have a giant banner that goes up and it's like, I think it's Go Tanks or something, but it's like their own colored version of that character, like their own modded version of that character. And the banner goes up and everybody powers up like like Goku when he turns Super Saiyan. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like they even have their own, fight songs or their own anthems. Like that's all great shit, but like they're wasting it on a stupid fucking sport when it could be for baseball or it could be for hockey. I mean, it's just a wasted opportunity to have a really cool fan base for a sport that really isn't all that great. So I cry for these people because they are so rabid. They're so rabid fans for a sport that kind of sucks dick. So
yeah, true. And they also start riots, so that's also pretty awesome as well.
Yeah. You got anything else, Ted, about that?
Nah, soccer's garbage. It's fucking bullshit. If you have the fucking balls to try and prove us wrong, you can comment on any fucking thing we have. It doesn't even have to be a post about soccer. You can comment about it on anything or send us a fucking DM at Game Rage Magazine or at All Gas No Trash Official. And please tell us how we're wrong because you're fucking never going to change our mind. But go ahead. You can try. We'd love to see it. We'd love to hear what bullshit excuses you can come up with as to why soccer's not complete and utter hot garbage.
I also have one more other thing to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why the fuck do they have the goddamn tournaments in our country when soccer is like the least interesting thing? It's like all these other countries have the opportunity to host, but they know they can't rake it like here in the US. So of course they put it here because there's money to make, but They don't put in fucking Mexico. They don't put in Argentina because they know people won't travel to those countries. Why the fuck did they put it here when it's the sport that and nobody really cares? At least nobody really cares about. But judging by the fact that soccer fanatics are willing to travel, but they won't go to other like Central South American countries because who the fuck knows if it's safe? And do they have the system to support 30 different teams to play a tournament? I don't fucking know, but they always put it here, dude. And it's like, keep that shit somewhere else, man. Like, go make money somewhere else. Like, I don't want that shit here.
As a whole, in terms of multi-sport, I think America or the United States market is probably one of the largest on the planet. I mean, obviously, I think FIFA is the largest money-making sports organization worldwide, but that encompasses the entire world. If you add up all the different leagues of professional sports that exist in the U.S., I'm sure that they eclipse what FIFA does worldwide. So we're a huge market for sports. So it makes sense as to why they'd want to do that here and why to try to want to try to capitalize on that. And I mean, shit, FIFA, for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is as to why they never wanted to try to come to America or what the fucking deal was to have FIFA proper here. But, we got the MLS, I guess, with the Major League Soccer, which I don't know who the fuck I don't even know who the fuck founded that, but
Tell you, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. Fucking irrelevant. Because it's garbage. It's hot fucking garbage. And maybe that's why they founded this, because FIFA was just like, yeah, nobody gives a shit about soccer in America, so we're just gonna fucking tell them forget about it. We're not even gonna try. And I guess that's how. I guess that's how it works. I don't know. And soccer also fucking works super weird because of the fact that there's all these different levels to it. It's like it's the same fucking sport, so it's not like it's not like how our shit usually works, where there's like quote unquote, I guess, college and then like minor league teams. It's all considered professional level, but it's just different levels of professional, which fucking doesn't make any sense. It's like 9 or 10 different levels of professional soccer. And it's like, Jesus Christ, at that point, who gives a shit if there's 18 different divisions for this professional league and then you can work your way up and down? It's like, fuck, man, that's terrible. So anyways, fuck soccer. And you got anything else to say about soccer?
No, but I did want to ask you about something.
Oh, yeah.
To transition to our next topic.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So you did mention that you were looking into following a team for Nippon Professional Baseball since we had our interview with Yuri Karasawa.
That's right. That's right.
Do you actually have a team that you're interested in, or you're going to follow?
Oh yes, I have done the work. I've put in the research, the minutes to hours of ball busting and tedious fucking, I don't know, research, I guess, as to who I am going to, be looking at potentially following. And I have decided upon the Nippon Ham Fighters as being my number one new team that I'm going to be following in the NPB, or Nippon Professional Baseball.
Why is that?
Well, see, I didn't want to, and in my search, I didn't want to incorporate past championships, victories, or anything. I didn't look at any of their records. I didn't look at any of that shit because I didn't want to be considered jumping on as a bandwagoner or whatever. So the thing that I felt like I could come down to as being the most neutral way, I guess, in terms of, I mean, I don't know about neutral, but the least bandwagony way is I wanted to look at either controversies or basically just interesting things that I found out about the teams themselves. And so the one that I found the most interesting was the mascot for the Nippon Hampires is a fox, and his name's Frep, which sounds like a fucking sexually transmitted disease. And I was already in. I'm like, oh, that sounds fucking great. Frep the fox. He basically captured my attention by the fact that that when they played the Hanshin Tigers in 2018, he basically Jushin Thunder Liger throughout the first ceremonial first pitch, and he then had a gimmick match, an actual wrestling match with Frep the Fox on the field, and he jobbed for him. He jobbed for Jushin Thunder Liger in his own fucking stadium, and he did the job. He took the L for Jushin Liger, and I thought that was very respectable, and that Frep the Fox is a mascot that I can get behind. And so then I decided to throw my name in the ring, or my fandom hat into the ring of the Nippon Ham Fighters. So now, I do think it's very, what's the word? I don't know if it's disrespectful, but it's very arrogant to basically throw, like, because they're in Hokkaido or whatever, and their full name, I guess, technically is the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters, because Nippon Ham is the name of the company sponsor that runs them. But I thought that it was still disrespectful to basically or like a shot at everybody to have the name of the country, like, even though it's in the name of the sponsor, it's like, it's still fucking like a dick move to be like, oh yeah, we're the Hokkaido Japan Ham Fighters, basically. Go fuck yourselves. So I thought that was
the team. You're the team to follow.
Yeah, so that's the team that I decided to go for. So that's who I'm going to be following right now, and that's who I've kind of started following, and I'm still, because it is still a chore to try to watch fucking baseball. That's, Nippon based professional baseball games here in America. It's still a bitch to do that, essentially. Now, I mean, it's a bitch to do it in legal ways, but I will still be watching it nonetheless. And I'm also still adjusting to the rules differences, because there are quite a few different rules that in how it's played, essentially. So that still does take some getting used to. So I'm also still learning the different differentiation in rules as well. So that's something that I am pursuing right now to occupy my time, because the Angels are still sucking balls, and I will say I have benefited greatly from the shit season that they've been having, and I got tickets for me and Katie to sit essentially row 1 right field. Fucking they're excellent seats, and I got them for like fucking next to nothing. So and that's like front row aisle. They're like there's prime real estate at this Angels game. They're playing the Mets too, which I believe that's August 3rd. So August 3rd, if you're going to be out in fucking right field and you see the ginger fuck, come say hi. Cause tell me you're a Game Rage Giga Chad, and I'll fucking chat you up and we can fucking have a good combo. But anyways, yeah, go Nippon Ham Fighters.
I don't think you need to. If you go on YouTube, there's actually, whether it's like Yaku Cosmopolitan summarizing the league itself at large in probably 3 to 4 minutes. There's a couple different other YouTube channels. I think one's called like Pacific League TV. they kind of summarize what happens over the course of the week in baseball for Nippon Professional Baseball. So not that you necessarily need to watch the games, but I mean, somebody that we were talking about for the Nippon Ham Fighters, or at least I believe he's on the team, Chusei Minami, the half Congolese, half Japanese player, who plays right field. Dude, you got to go check out his clips. Like, motherfuckers throwing out people from right field to home in one fell swoop. Like, unreal arm, cannon for an arm. Like, just check out his highlight reels. That dude is definitely like a legit baseball player, and he just happens to be on the fucking Nippon Ham Fighters.
Yeah. So, and I like to just watch full games proper. Like, that's the thing that if I'm gonna get into it, I don't just want to watch fucking highlights. I feel like that's not earning it. All right, I feel like I need to sit there and watch fucking complete full games to fucking really solidify my fandom of this team. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's harder to do because there are channels and there are ways that you can see those things on some YouTube channels in a legitimate capacity, but the problem is they don't cover it. It doesn't cover every single team. So, and I think the Ham Fighters were one of the teams that got left out on some of those broadcast rights to, either YouTube or some of the American counterparts to networks that are here, I guess. So I am trying to figure out how I can like get a hold of that. And yes, watching, and yeah, those are excellent options for just catching up on the highlights and getting the information necessary. But I kind of want to watch just proper full games. And again, I'm not going to understand the fucking commentary, but I don't need the commentary because I know I know how baseball works for the most part. So I can figure out what the fuck's going on. So anyway, what else? What else you got?
So to move on, I do want to talk about, and maybe I'll talk about it broadly, but for this specific, can we put on pause?
Yeah, here, I'll pause it real quick.
Okay. All right. So yeah, like I was saying, talking about Caitlin Clark and the great wonders that she's doing with the WNBA. So I actually spent one of the Sundays, I think it was like 2 Sundays ago, it was the Chicago Sky versus the Indiana Fever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had Angel Reese, who's the shit talker, and I guess you can call her the antagonist of Caitlin Clark. So Angel Reese ended up bringing back the Chicago Sky from like a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter with probably like 6 minutes to go. And man, I'll tell you what, Caitlin Clark is like straight up handicapped by her team. It's like she's playing on a 4D level. She's shooting like 3-pointers like Steph Curry from where the brand markers are for like, I don't even know who the fuck sponsors the NBA, but she's shooting 3-pointers from like 10 or 15 feet away from like their the half circle for the 3-point mark. I'm just like, holy shit. And she's making amazing passes, and the fucking team itself is like missing easy buckets. Like, this is why the NBA sucks dick, dude. But I'm glad she's changing the perspective of people that this is like a legitimate league, and there are potential stars to be had in the future, and she's definitely one of them. But like, she's being straddled by her own fucking team, and she had a 15-point lead, and Angel Reese ended up coming back and winning the game by like 2 points. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. I kind of wanted to see Caitlin Clark dominate, but I just found it amazing that I had any interest in watching the WNBA. Like, I got invested in this fucking game. So I'm like, things are fucking changing, dude. It's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'll say this. It's like, it's the equivalent of Caitlin Clark is playing. Like if you want to give an example, a video game analogy, right? She's playing, let's say, World of Warcraft, which is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, right? And her teammates are playing fucking Pong. That's the level of discrepancy between her level and their level. It's almost like they're not even playing the same fucking game. Like they're not even playing the same sport at this point. She's playing basketball and they're playing, I don't know, some other fucking horse shit.
It's so sad because there's clips of her getting like visibly frustrated on the court where she's like, fuck, but this is just what I have to deal with. Like, it's so sad, dude. It's ridiculous. There
was one clip of her making this amazing pass to one of her teammates, and it was right fucking to her, and she just completely fucking missed it, and it went out of fucking bounds. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, that was terrible.
The other thing I wanted to know about the WNBA that was really interesting. So you mentioned that the WNBA is projected to lose $150 million by the time the season ends, right?
Yeah, it was something like that. I don't remember what the exact number was.
Okay, so it's somewhere in that ballpark, right? The funny thing is, as I was watching the game, the NBA jerseys, the WNBA jerseys themselves, okay, so for the NBA itself, they only have one like official sponsor per team, right? These motherfuckers, I think, have like 3 or 4. I'm like, how the fuck do these guys have 3 or 4 sponsors and they're still not breaking even? Like every team has 3 or 4 sponsors on like, it's like a soccer jersey. If you watch any of the professional leagues where there's just a bunch of shit everywhere and you don't even know who's the player because like their name's obscured with all the sponsors.
Yeah.
And even the number is kind of obscured by the number of sponsors. So they nearly have that on their jerseys. Like it's nearly getting to that point. But I just find it bonkers that even with all the sponsors, they can't even break fucking even with the total revenue for the year. Like, what is that?
Yeah. Okay. So just to be correct on the number. So the WNBA had lost an average of more than $10 million every year since it was founded. Okay. And now they were reporting that in 2024, it's the WNBA and its teams are expected to lose around $50 million.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was not 150,
yeah.
It was 50 million, but still that's still a lot of money, man. Considering that you have all these sponsors, all the, I don't know if the television deals are worth any amount of money, but that's just crazy how much it costs to operate. And that's the thing is the NBA subsidizes the WNBA. So the NBA is kicking in that 50 mil that they're going to lose plus whatever extra to make them whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's despite this newfound popularity. They're losing money. They're losing 5 times as much, even with this surging popularity or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyways, I don't have anything additional to add for this episode, but just more of the ongoing narrative for the WNBA.
Yeah, I did want to say one last final little topic, I guess, is to just talk about the Stanley Cup Finals real quick. And I don't know if it'll be real quick or not, but at any rate, the fucking Florida man went up 3-0 on the Canadian and somehow managed to lose 3 games in a row, one of which they lost 8-1. And I will say that it seems very sus that this transpired the way it did to go all the way to game 7 for Florida man to end up just winning the cup anyways. And I know we said in the last episode, or that we talked about the Stanley Cup, that if Florida Man lost the fucking this 3-0 lead, that they would be we would be literally forcing Florida to secede from the union and giving them to, Mexico or Cuba or whoever the fuck else we were going to give them to if they lost this. But yes, I'll give them their credit. They did win, but I feel like this thing was all scripted anyways, that there was this game, this Stanley Cup final was set to need to go to 7 games so that the NHL could maximize the money, because the Florida Panthers going up 3-0 on the Edmonton Oilers was already unexpected, and not that wasn't, I didn't foresee. I don't think a lot of people foresaw that happening. And so the height of what you already thought was the height of drama, the Florida Panthers potentially sweeping the Edmonton Oilers, then turns into the Edmonton Oilers winning 3 games in a row to tie it up at 3-3 and going into a Game 7 deciding factor of who the fuck was going to win this. That just seems like the NHL wanted to cash in for sure on 7 games worth of, advertising revenue, of contract deal with the networks, and also likely receive performance bonuses for having a huge audience for Game 7, because you've built the height of drama now leading into this Game 7. So what do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the fact that they got to a Game 7 was so preposterous, but it was absolutely necessary, because there was so much money to make off of each game that if it ended up being a sweep, well, it's like, oh shit, we missed out on 3 games that we could have made bank on. And of course, like the ratings, I mean, hockey's like probably behind baseball, football, the NBA. I don't know where it falls, but I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's like in 3rd or 4th place. But I think having a Game 7 like automatically escalates it to being at the forefront of sports. And even if the 2 teams are not something you're invested in, like everybody wants to see who's going to win a Game 7. But the fact that it was the Edmonton Oilers, a franchise that everybody knows for Wayne Gretzky, and they flopped on their faces and ate shit, it was the funniest fucking thing. I know an Edmonton Oilers fan, and he was telling me he was going to call off work for a week because he would be devastated if they lost to Florida.
That's fucking hilarious. It is funny to see, because, okay, again, each game averaged about 8 million viewers, and this Game 7 drew 16, it doubled it. It drew 16.3 million viewers and is the second most watched NHL game in history, essentially. So they mission accomplished if they wanted to create this drama to maximize their viewership. I mean, it definitely worked. And I don't know what the performance bonuses were for the networks, if they drew certain numbers of viewers or whatever the case was, but man, they definitely fucking likely blew all those out of the water and got paid a bunch of extra money. So
yeah, for sure. Well, that's pretty much all I had for the episode. If you want to add anything else.
No, that's pretty much it. I wanted to see if I could find out what the highest fucking rated or the highest most watched fucking game was in NHL history, but because there was fucking one. They don't fucking say. They don't say what it is, but this is stupid. This rating is dumb. They don't have any they don't have the records on here. But anyways, that's pretty much it, I guess. We'll go ahead and cap this off, I guess, unless you you said you didn't have any more to add. So anyways, all right, well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. We know it's remote and it was a little fishy, but at the end of the day, we still made the shit and you still listened to it. So thanks and congratulations on getting to hear a wonderful episode of, Chirping from the Pine. Anyways, if you want to go to Game Rage,
Dookie on soccer.
In the what? Took a shit on soccer? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was basically the point of this episode, is to shit on soccer. And if you don't like that, then we don't care. Actually, we do care, and we want to hear your shitty opinion on why soccer is not garbage at GameRageMagazine.com. And if you want to tell us on Instagram or TikTok, it's at Game Rage Magazine. And if you want to tell us on the Twitter/X, it's at Game Rage Mag. If you want to specifically tell Adam, and so that way we can double team you on the internet, you can go to at All Gas No Trash Official, and you can tell him shit there. Anyways, I guess that'll do it for us. And thank you guys for listening. We will catch you on the next one. That was Chirpin' from the Pine, the Game Rage Sports Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. Follow us on X at Game Rage Mag. You can go to our website, www.GameRageMagazine.com.